Hey, Nate and Kelly here for another episode of All About Karate. So we've got an important subject today. We're going to get right into it. Is Daniel a bad teacher? There is no bad student. There is only bad teachers.
Yes.
Is Daniel a bad teacher?
Because what his students have done, as you were pointing out to me earlier, that in the end of season 2, the final episode, we see no Cobra Kai students the victor of any of their
No,
fights.
all the mini battles, the Miyagi-do won.
Right.
All the way across the board. And
And
they all had
yeah.
finishing moves.
Right.
There
That
the
was your
book
big thing.
Against Chris, like boom, that kid hit Chris with the book. Then there was, of course, Hawk, boom, into the glass. So like
Dimitri with Hawk.
Right.
And then obviously
Oh my gosh, spoiler alert. But
Yeah.
you know that coming to our channel.
Right.
Watch the first
it should just
headline
be
video.
called
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And then obviously Robbie against Miguel, and then Sam against Tori. So, but my point to you earlier was because you were saying that they shouldn't have had these epic finishing moves. That was your whole point
the
earlier.
book, and then I thought it was over. Tori had her. She was, and I don't know how there's this.
Yeah,
I
know
think
she
there should have
blocked
been
it.
another thing besides just this, like a block, and then. But Miyagi-Do is a defensive
Sure.
form of karate, so she was able to anticipate as we were learning, block it, and then she does this massive kick over the side. Tori hits the steps. Then there was the big finishing move, I think, with Dimitri, a little bit out of character. I wouldn't say way out, a little bit out of character, into the glass.
Throwing Hawk into the trophy case, right?
Oh my
And then
gosh.
obviously the big controversial one with Robbie.
And the kick.
Yeah, and kicking it after Miguel said,
Really-
"I'm sorry," and Miguel had mercy, and Robbie did not. So your point was that Daniel has
Yep.
taught these students.
And as we see in some of our comments and some of the other information going around the web right now, people are saying did Kreese get to Robbie in some way or another and influence him? I don't know
I think that's highly unlikely.
Yeah, and I don't see him having the time either. That was been our point in another video. But do we see other Miyagi-Do students behaving as Robbie did, especially in this fight that had been built up? And then we had Daniel telling his students, sometimes the fight's going to come to you. And so we see here, this is at the end of season 1, episode 10. He says, "Not over my dead body."
Will Cobra Kai take
Yeah.
over the valley?
Robbie goes, so Robbie just just calling it okay, now Cobra Kai is going to take over karate in the valley. And here's Daniel saying, "Over my dead body."
And
then, of course, we learn about Miyagi-Do then.
And then Amanda has been saying you're really overdoing it with the karate, and you need to take a step back. You're not going to balance it well, which in season 2 he obviously didn't.
And then
balance it well.
Kreese getting into his head, and then
saying it's a war.
Right, and then Daniel being a hothead, Daniel was never able to change his focus, and he was always a hothead. That was his problem. And so
He's been trying to pull it back, though. Remember?
as we see here, as Daniel's trying to learn focus. I think one of us is blocking it. One of us is blocking it. Is it you? Yeah. All right. So as you see
Limbo out
here, so as you see here, Daniel is trying to learn focus in his later stage of life, and it's something that he may have skipped out on when he was becoming a mature adult with karate, and then teaching his daughter and things with it, and had his time with Miyagi still, as Miyagi being an old man, because we know that Miyagi did live till I think 2011 is what the tombstone said.
Right.
And so Daniel is trying to have focus, and he obviously didn't have this.
Belief.
Didn't even give it a shot. He was
Right.
medic. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff with inner peace and inner focus that I
he's
think
missing out on. There's some gaps there, especially because in Karate Kid 3 he delves into Cobra Kai because he doesn't have the patience, and he doesn't have the inner training to
and
follow
Miyagi
the
wouldn't
path.
train him because it was over a prize.
Right.
And it was
And he
just
wasn't
over
interested
defending
in it.
a title rather than actual
So Daniel's
karate
pride
as
has
defense.
kind of gotten in the way.
And he is so that's one thing that his pride that a lot of people have missed on the season 1 is Daniel's pride of all of his stuff.
His
where he's
nice
got
knives.
Yeah, that's right. I got this set last time I was in
Okinawa, and then he said, I've got this fish at this, Japanese market. He was very prideful about all of his things.
And all his wines he's always sharing with everybody.
And he can't just have a regular car dealership. He has to have luxury autos.
Yeah.
Like it has to be luxury autos. So
he has really ended up in the world of the country clubs and everything that he was like timid of and afraid of, and like kind of talked, down to or whatever,
Or like, that's just not me, type of thing. That has become him.
Yeah, he was
but with
from the
that
East Coast coming into the West Coast, and now all of a sudden he has
Johnny's life.
Yeah.
Like Johnny and Allie's,
Johnny's parents' life,
right.
and then we see, like I've talked about in another video, Anthony in a side story.
Yeah.
So Daniel in later life is losing focus of all these things of karate, and here he is in his Daniel rageful fit again that he does, where he's a hothead. And I have been in these moments as a teacher, as an adult, sometimes even as a father, and where you have two people in a place and one person feels real strongly about something and is all stirred up right now, but you need to regain your consciousness before you enter into this to resolve this properly. Yep. Right? I've been on both sides.
You have usually to collect yourself.
Usually on the other side of like, calm down, this stuff happens, like just wait a second.
You're more like focused on like the minutia of the issue rather than focusing on the big picture of, was it really that big of a deal? Is this really the way to handle it?
And that happens with experience, like Johnny and I both have a lot of experience.
Daniel did fairly well, with Johnny in season 1 showing up at his house unexpectedly. And being
he dropped his glass, like his morning
but
coffee or whatever.
He didn't immediately go into the fight. He was trying to be let's be chill, let's be adults. But then he went to be like a tattletale and call the cops or whatever. But in season 2, as soon as the Miyagi-do got attacked, like the dojo got attacked, he immediately got in his car and did what Johnny did.
But he was there at the season 1 too. He's the one that went into his dojo and they went toe to toe.
Yeah.
I don't have a screenshot of that, but we had another scene this season where he did the same thing. Went straight in, barged in and ready to start a fight. That's the hothead Daniel, the same one from the beach that sucker punches Johnny. That's that same hothead still, and Mr. Miyagi tried to get that out of him through focus and balance and inner peace and all the things Miyagi-do has. And it's something that Daniel just has never been able to master, and therefore has made bad students because he was a bad teacher. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. It doesn't mean that he doesn't mean well.
And it also doesn't mean that he can't become a good teacher in the future.
Yeah, possibly.
No, I think once he handles that himself,
maybe so.
Or maybe he learns from this issue. But to play the other side a little bit, you were saying that Daniel's poor teaching skills have come about in this obvious way of these finishing moves of the end of season 2, right? That was your big but look at this obvious thing.
Because he said the fight's going to come to you and you got to anticipate it. And I think he has projected the same way Johnny has projected the strike first and like
the fight's going to
hit
come
hard,
to you type of thing.
Right, yeah,
and then
Daniel
also Kreese kind of getting in Daniel's mind.
Right, and Daniel has projected the hothead.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, that happens with your students. Like I've had students, and I have children, and you see certain reflections of yourself,
good and bad,
things that you like about yourself, things you don't, and it helps you learn more about yourself as well.
Definitely.
And so when you see some of these things start to happen with your proteges,
it's some of the things that annoy you the most. And you're like, why are you like that? And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, the mommy dearest syndrome.
It's totally me.
And so with the kick scene, and we were looking at earlier, with Daniel coming in hot-headed, Johnny was in the right there. He was saying, just calm down. Let's take let's step back.
Oh, you're saying then, with Sam, when Sam was. Sam ended up at his house.
Right.
That was what you're talking
about. This is what
about,
we're looking at here. He's kicking in the door.
Yeah.
And he's still this hot-headed person. That has been reflected onto these students where that final kick has now come to this final kick. You see, where he's just ultimate retaliation, like and quick to the draw, like how Daniel's been.
This is two things though that I'm coming
with
to
his
my
sucker
mind.
punch from the beach and all the Miyagi that he went through, and you know, like
well,
with
that was
him
all
coaching him.
Miyagi, but here's the
I know,
thing.
but that's what I'm saying. After all of the Miyagi coaching, he's still a hothead where he has another teacher that's going, you know, whether he respects him or not.
Right.
He has another teacher that's going like, this happens to kids. Just wait a second. You know, just calm down. I want you coming in here.
Here's the thing.
Starting steam.
Here's the thing, is that all the scenes where Daniel has let his hot temper go, and Robbie as well, is things that they've never encountered before. So, like Johnny,
yeah, sure. We don't know, but yeah, like
Johnny has dealt with a rebellious, bad teen. Few and far between, but he has seen that, and like in his life and stuff and everything. So, but Daniel has never had Sam come home drunk. He's never. That's why she was so petrified. She's like, my parents cannot see me like this.
Those were the bad decisions he made in episode 1 or season 1, where he's like kicking all these people out of his backyard. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, because he's never experienced it before.
And his wife is like, yeah, she's not going to talk to you for a week. You just insulted her in front of all of her friends and humiliated her.
It's due to inexperience, and it's not due to.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, his hot temper does come out, but it's due to his inexperience in these scenarios. Mm-hmm. So maybe.
And Johnny has to do what he has to do, defend his territory and be a defensive fighter in some degree. And I love this shot here of Johnny, like if you see it, yeah, like look at this, like just boom, you know, like. I love that shot, and I agree with Johnny trying to take his place, and like he says in season 1, like I did what I was trained to do. I defended myself when he sucker punched him at the beach, and they of course, like, I mean, it was good for production where they're cutting back to the final battle of them when they were kids, and now we see them in the apartment about to really go out as adults,
right? And
they're playing the music and everything, and it's like intense. But I see reflections too of the beach scene where Daniel just. Boom! Just, you know, hits this door open. Very similar to how he hits the door open at the very first.
For the bathroom.
You know, no, I was saying the very first scene that we see Daniel ever do karate ever is in Karate Kid 1.
Right.
And the movie's called The Karate Kid. And the first thing that you ever see after the nice music that takes us through all the territories of.
The fence, the gate.
It's a gate at the Reseda apartment building, and he kicks it open. Right. Instead of just like trying to budge through it or not even think, is there anybody on the other side of that? What's this going to feel like?
Well, he had
boom! Same thing here, man. And then he hits Johnny's nose. He's like, what the hell, man? And Johnny has to defend himself. And as we see in that one famous YouTube that some people say started all this, got 10 million views out there, where he says that he has to control Daniel's limitless rage, you know? And yeah, that's what's having to happen right now. He's having to control Daniel's limitless rage going on right now and try to contain
he has had, I know I keep doing this, like, yeah, but you know, he has had a good amount of, you know, angsty experiences, especially when he's moving now to the Reseda apartments or whatever. Like, he did just go through a lot. He left all his friends. Obviously, something happened with his dad.
But I'm just saying, like, I like that the writers are, like, I don't know if that was intentional or not, too.
Now,
but
my big other thing to defend Daniel as maybe possibly not the worst teacher, he's not a great teacher, it's all due to his inexperience. So
But that's what makes great professors and teachers, not just knowing what the book says, but like what I can tell you about life with it.
You have your first student at some time. So I'm just giving him a tad bit of slack, not saying he can't improve, but my big thing is that final scene, or that final battle in season 2, right, the last episode. Your point is that everybody had these finishing moves, you know, Miyagi-do just like went in there and like totally kicked ass or whatever. That was like your point. But my thing is Hawk, Tori, that, you know, Bebop guy, whatever, like that they were like Chris or whatever.
Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah, and yeah, so Tori, and I think Miguel would have calmed down, but at least those three, Hawk, Tori, and Chris or whatever, they would not have stopped. No, like there was going to be
Tori for sure wouldn't
and
have.
Hawk would not have stopped. They would not have stopped. We've seen that in them. So I think that they would have had to have finished it in some form because they wouldn't have. They did not learn the control your temper, control your emotions thing that Miguel did.
Yeah, that was a beautiful point. That's a beautiful point. And
so,
you know, I would have liked to have seen at least one Cobra Kai successful battle, though. I don't agree with the writers in having it all Miyagi-Do wins.
Winning. Mm-hmm.
Even the mini battles going on, I would like to have seen Chris win.
Well, in the very...
I'm sorry, Chris did win. I'd like to have
in
seen
that
Cobra
middle
Kai win
hallway
that battle.
scene, Stingray does go through.
Yeah,
and
that's
kicks
what people are saying,
you know,
that might have, like one of our comments was that Stingray is going to be, well, that'll be a different video, but
right, but
he's gonna
look
be
for him.
Yeah.
So I think we got our points across that we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I'm
one more
thinking
point.
not such a bad teacher, just very poor experience.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing about how like in his poor teaching is abandoning his student. Right here we're seeing him. This is the second time he does it. No, man, I give you another chance, you know, and he's like, and he's
and he says this was a
Daniel
mistake.
just gets caught up so much into the moment rather than
the overall picture.
Thinking it through, and thinking it through. What are my words going to be? Because that's what's going to be an outcome of the situation.
Yeah.
And abandoning your student, you have to understand when you are a teacher.
That is the second time he's abandoned Robbie.
Yeah, your students are there to make mistakes. That's why they're your students.
Yep.
That's why they're your students. You have to watch them make mistakes and then learn from the student that way of like, okay, where are they making the mistakes, and help them become a better person. Yeah, you have to be flexible.
It seems like Daniel has had a row of successes up until this point. You can't just own 3 luxury auto dealerships in the middle of Los Angeles and not have a streak of success with like a beautiful wife, beautiful home, great kids, or whatever.
And
you know what I mean?
We're talking about.
So he has had a streak of successes, and this like, what are you doing, like failure, you know, type thing. So that's why it's interesting, because I think he is learning that with Dimitri. I think Dimitri has been such a good. No, I take it out.
No, I was just about to bring him up because that's
where he has learned his like patience and like look at the bend of the student and then work with that.
Learn the bent of the raise the student on its bent, raise the child on its bent. And so and that I was just about to bring that. That was beautiful. But so Dimitri, as we're talking about, in case to remind you, like he's trying to say like, come on, you knew this. Like when he tries to do the big scene, and just because it worked that certain way for you, and just because it worked that way for your first protege that you had, Robbie, you know, or Sam, doesn't mean that like that's what's just gonna always be the case, because of the student's
individuality.
Yep.
Individuality.
And so then he has to work, and now like that's beautiful what you said. Like that's now Dimitri's lesson to Daniel, where he has to take it slow. All right, let's take it slower. Let's do this thing. But obviously Dimitri is soaking in things. He is learning, and he is able to use his knowledge that he's
he's learning how to get on Dimitri's level, and like even talk about Game of Thrones with him, and like, you know, so he's able to like not be Daniel.
Which people have talked about as alluding
don't
to
even
things.
get into it.
That's another video. We're going to talk about maybe deaths, maybe not, and what it might mean, and what certain things might mean.
So what do you think? Is Daniel a bad teacher, just gonna be a bad teacher? Is he just a poor teacher right now because he's inexperienced, or is he a good teacher? What do you think?
So this is Robbie at the end too, saying like, you guys can learn a lot from each other, you know, and that is definitely true. That's what we're gonna see in the future episodes. We've all seen the promo posters where they're each wearing their separate, each wearing each other's gis. Where Johnny's wearing a Miyagi gi and a headband, and Daniel's wearing a Cobra Kai outfit.
Right.
So we see that they're going to see reflections of each other and learn to be better teachers from each. And this right here it's not even foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's like telling us exactly. But I called this. I thought we'd see this at the end of season 2.
Yeah, but they were wanting to get some more stretch out. So
we might see it. I don't know if we're going to see it even in season 3. It depends on how long they want to stretch it out for.
How long it's going to take Johnny to get back on his feet.
But I was one of the only people calling that they're going to have to work together.
Yep.
But that's
for another video.
Yeah,
but what do you think?
Right now.
Daniel, good teacher, bad teacher, medium teacher, and why?
Let us know, and remember, you're the best around. We'll see you again soon at All Valley Karate.